I understand. I'm recording over here, but
Okay.
I'll have to do some research about what.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because I'm the host. I don't know. It's whatever. No
Yeah. I don't know.
matter. All right. Let me pull this bad boy up.
Cool.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 4 of Go Be Wyoming. I'm Aaron Gray, and today Zach Gale is joining me from Bozeman again. Zach, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. We just got done with an interview with Senator Bo Biteman.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was great. Got some
Yeah.
good stuff there. I will say, all our legislators, they put in a lot of work. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
plus having full-time jobs, most of them, and then they got to put in, 8-9 hours a day throughout the year. And then when they have to do session, I mean, that's just a lot. So,
yeah, definitely.
But we are going to get right into it, Zach. We have a lot to talk about over the last week.
We
do. We will start off with kind of the fun stuff. We got Kanye West and then Nikki Sixx in the news, Wyoming news. Nikki Sixx has been out here in Wyoming, looks like. Maybe he moved out here. He's a transplant, but he was caught fly fishing on Snake River.
Yep.
Seems like he's getting pretty good at it, looks like to me.
Yeah. That was news. Well, so I did a little bit of digging on that. Apparently, he moved here in June. I had no idea about that. He's living in Jackson. And then, he posted on his Instagram the fish that he caught. It was a decent cutthroat. So, it was pretty good.
He's enjoying his time out here in the Tetons, man. I think Kanye West is maybe starting a movement of, the de-urbanization, everyone coming out here and, so, hey, which is good. You and I both fly fish. We love the outdoors. Yeah. So, hey, that's awesome. And then, Kanye, I think the name of the news source, I think, tells you everything you need to know. It's from One Green Planet. And they claim, so One Green Planet is not any sort of state agency for Wyoming that I'm aware of. But they claim that Kanye is going to be endangering the sage grouse population over there in Cody if he expands his ranch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I didn't find that source, but I found High Country News reported it as well. Kind of talking about how sage grouse kind of threatened by oil and gas development, miners, ranchers, hunters, I guess anything that walks the earth is kind of what they're reporting. But they kind of gave a little bit insight as to what he's wanting to build. So he's already got a 2-bedroom lake house built out there on his, plans to add a 2-bedroom lake house, 2 underground 10,000 square foot parking garages, and then a 10-bedroom 52,000 square foot residence, which coincidentally would be about the size of the White House.
I was gonna make a joke. Parks and Rec, Tom Haverford's character, he wanted to build a big entertainment center for their small town of Pawnee, and I was gonna say that's what Kanye wants to do, and I guess that is what he wants to do. So
so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how that works out for him. Because they said something. They report here. What was it? Where was it? I think there's just some conservation kind of issues with that in zoning. So,
this was one of my takes I was going to say in support of Kanye is I don't like that these people are attacking him right away.
Yeah.
Because one, it's not built. like he can't move dirt. Like, I mean, that's why the counties and cities and wherever this is, they've got zoning rules. Like, you know, yes, it's private land, but he can't just go out there and start doing it. So that's number one. That's why we have those rules in place. Now, you know, my joke kind of falls deaf now because, I mean, he is trying to build a huge, you know, the parking garage and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, that's a lot of land, but he's got to get approval. So, like, the county might shoot him down and say, no, like, you can build a 2-bedroom house, but you can't build a, you know, big old parking garage, you know. And there's probably, you know, environmental issues in regards to the depth of those, you know, all that stuff. So that's what drives me nuts with the sage grouse is, like, number one, it's private property. So that and then we've got rules in place. Wyoming's one of the best states with environmental conservation rules. So and then also the Petroleum Association of Wyoming had a study out, or actually the state's finishing a 8-year study of the sage grouse population cycle. The numbers are going up. So there's that. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things, like, they're going to go after Kanye, but the population's going up. So over a 10-year cycle. So anyways, but those are your celebrity news bits right there, Zach. And let's move into our interview with Bo. He kind of was talking about this carbon capture, that integrated test center over in Campbell County. It sounds like, you know, it's moving forward. You know, Senator Barrasso came out and, you know, he's kind of excited to see what it does. You know, we're going to monitor that. You know, it is interesting. And, you know, we do have Ramaco over here in Sheridan. So, anyways, there's moves into the, you know, the carbon capture space, the innovation of what we can do with coal and carbon. And looks like you found statements.
Over at the Casper Tribune, they printed out kind of his statement on the carbon capture, but something that caught my eye, they said, so this is in regards to the integrated test center in Gillette. He says it gives research teams access to captured carbon emissions so they can develop new uses for it. Teams at the site are developing fuels, plastics, and new building materials, all from carbon dioxide that would otherwise be released up the smokestack. So, I mean, ingenious, I think, taking these, you know, these emissions that are the number one rallying cry for climate activists, and using those for a lot of stuff, fuels, plastics, and building materials. I mean, that's huge. And especially what we've talked about with Bo in regards to building, you know, jobs and creating jobs and trying to get people to kind of diversify Wyoming's economy. I think is a great way to keep the tradition of, you know, minerals and land resources and expand on it. So yeah, I think that's huge. Hopefully that'll take off.
Yeah. And, you know, one thing I'm curious to see is, and Zach, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but graphene is a material that people have recently stumbled upon that can help. It's got multiple applications, but one of the things I'm curious about is these building materials that they might come from this integrated test center. Is graphene can come from natural gas, which is, it's a patented process now, and, you know, somebody's got it, but so yeah, there's just multiple applications to this, which makes sense. I mean, it makes sense for the oil and gas operators, you know, if they can save money and make some, you know, whatever, you know, make other products, absolutely, and then create more jobs. And you know, like I said, we got Ramaco here that kind of does the same thing. I think they're looking more into the coal side, not really the oil and gas side, but kind of same stuff. So yeah, I'm excited, and we'll keep an eye on it and see if anything, you know, comes from it. I think Senator Biteman's only gripe with it was how much money the state and the university, is giving to this company when you've got a private company trying to do it. So,
Right.
which understandable, but what can you do if they've already given them the money and they're building it? So,
Right. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and it goes for more than just, I mean, you need engineering and you need, local construction companies even to build the sites too. So, I
yep,
mean, this doesn't just benefit the one company itself, it benefits everybody.
absolutely, yeah. And this has been like, I know, I would bet they're not even done building it yet. I mean, it's been 3-4 years. So yeah, like
Yeah.
construction company, laborers. I mean, for Campbell County, for Gillette, it's been great,
Yeah,
especially with the downturn in coal.
definitely.
Um, we hit on this with our interview with Senator Biteman. So Orion Mine seems like they will take over that Occidental land purchase, that checkerboard.
Yep.
Grand total of $1.3 billion. They're getting almost about 5 million acres, mineral acres, and then about almost 1.5, 2 million surface acres. So big purchase. Senator Biteman is hopeful that Orion Mine, in good faith, will try and develop some of that stuff in Natrona County. And I think he's right. Same with Representative Kenner. Time will tell if we missed out on something, or was it kind of a blessing in disguise with our current situation?
Right. Yeah. And it sounds like they're mostly interested in the Trona. And I don't know if you want to give some insight. What exactly is Trona, and why is that there? Because there's potential for a lot of stuff there besides the Trona as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah, it's most of that is in the Powder, and then some of it is also in that Bighorn County, over time, by like Worland, the Bighorn Basin. So um, there has been history of production, so that's what's good. Um, some of it keeps heading west towards the Tetons, so untested. So that's kind of, I think, where maybe that's where the governor was being a little slow is,
Right.
what's that potential of that acreage over there, but yeah, and Senator Biteman did hit on it too. Occidental kind of bought this property a couple years ago. They paid way too much for it, put themselves in a bad spot, and so it's just kind of it was kind of a weird deal. So hopefully Orion, seems like they're in a healthier economic situation and they can maybe develop something out of it.
For sure.
I will say, in the revenue committee, Treasurer Meyer was on, and he did talk about this, and said that he does think right now this is probably okay that we got outbid, just due to our economic situation and uncertainty. So anyways, we'll kind of see how that goes. I've got on here, I help coach up at the high school ninth graders. The Wyoming Athletic Association, we're playing fall sports. We just went back to school yesterday. Just for everyone out there, if they're concerned about what the restrictions are and what the precautions are, coaches and students are wearing masks pretty much all the time, unless unless the kids are competing, then they don't. And then for fans, limited fans, it's going off of either 1,000, which the governor approved. You can have 1,000 people at an outdoor event, or up to 50% capacity of whatever the venue is. So, for example, Sheridan High School stadium can fit 2,000, so 50% would be 1,000 anyways. We have to be socially distanced still. And then I don't know about other school districts, but here at Sheridan, we have a list of names. So we kind of are tracking who the parents are and fans are. We kind of do the screening, for every game. So it's not like if I was a parent, I get to go to every game. Nope, it's
right.
Every week we're doing this. For every home game we're getting screened, and then traveling teams. away team. So when Sheridan has to go to Cheyenne next week, only 100 fans can go, and I'm curious to see how that works. If might be up to each school, but so yeah, that's kind of the update on that. I think for anyone out there listening, that's hoping for high school sports. And Zach, I have in here, and I'll ask you here live on this. I wonder if it'd be kind of fun. I know you might not have time, but sometimes I can't go to all the varsity games. They're going to do the webcast free this year, obviously, since limited fans.
Right.
I wonder if we could do I don't want to compete with the radio, but it'd be kind of like a live stream. So anyways, I think that'd be kind of fun. Maybe
I think that'd be really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. So you're in. That'd be, because then we can have some adult libations, liquid libations, while we're calling the game. Might make the calling a little more entertaining. Next thing I had here, I found interesting, and then I'll kind of let you talk about the that UW enrollment article.
Yeah.
So I looked at the numbers of that Fremont tax bill, that 0.5% tax bill that passed in the primaries. They had a total of 10,600 people that voted in their primary, but only 10,100-ish voted on the tax bill. So about 400 to 500 people didn't vote yes or no.
Interesting.
So now the tax was written as economic diversification tax.
Okay.
Now, and I know when I turned 18 and I went and voted in my first primary, I probably would have read that and be like, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, right.
I think this just shows how important that for us, we need to be reporting on this kind of stuff, because it only won by 100 votes. I mean, they eliminated 400, 500 votes by the wording.
Right.
Yeah. So anybody listening in Fremont County, you guys better vote in November. I mean, you have the votes. I mean, it's
right.
Anyways, if you're a citizen of Fremont County, I think you need to be asking your county commissioners and your cities about what this tax is, and what it would go to.
Yeah.
And then last thing, kind of an oil and gas update. There's going to be a huge BLM lease sale in December. The BLM pushed it back, obviously, due to the economic situation. It'll be about a quarter million acres, so that's quite a bit. So that'll be good for the state of Wyoming. And the rig count as of today, there is one. So we are not at zero anymore. So somebody's out there drilling. So
there you go.
That's good news. Zach and I will kick it over to you. This is going to be interesting here.
Yeah.
That UW enrollment and what the governor just passed.
Yeah. So let's see. I sent this to you Tuesday, right? I think it was Tuesday. So basically what happened, Governor Gordon approved a grant funding for $57 million. And it's for college students. So it's for the University of Wyoming and the community colleges in the state. But we were looking at, I think they were projecting like a 20% enrollment drop between this year and last year.
Right.
And so with this new grant funding that's provided for students who have been negatively impacted by the pandemic, as well as some adults, they've seen enrollment come up drastically, actually, in the last week. So now instead of a 20% enrollment drop, they're looking at a 4%. And then the graduate level is down even narrower, 1%. Mm-hmm. And so what we've got here, the Casper Star Tribune reported on this. Let's see, Chad Baldwin, UW spokesman, said that this grant will give $3,250 to each student affected by the pandemic, plus a similar program to adults who may need new training. So I looked in a little bit later in the article, they talk about what that kind of looks like. And for that new training is really, I think, to just get graduate students enrolled. Let's see here. So for the new, considered new training, you have to be 25 or older, in need of retraining or an education for your next job or career path. So again, I think it's just to get grad students kind of to enroll.
Right.
So yeah, and I think that money, students had to prove either a loss in income or somehow that they were affected by the pandemic. So whether that was unexpected travel costs or new housing, could contribute to that.
Right.
What was interesting was, where did it go here? Harshman, and he's the speaker.
Yep, Speaker of the House.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. So Steve Harshman originally wanted to send a check to all university students. So the university students would receive $6,500. Just as a blanket, everybody gets $6,500.
Yep.
And so that would have totaled 116 million, and he's looking to take that from the $1.25 billion in COVID relief stimulus money. And so, they kind of pulled that back a little bit. State Superintendent Jillian Balo, said that there was a stipulation to that money. Basically, you get your $6,500 check if you wear a mask. And so basically forcing students to wear masks. So she was kind of, she rubbed up against that, and they ultimately ended up cutting the check in half for students who are negatively affected.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that went. What else did I have on that? Did you have anything to say about that, Aaron?
I just hope people listening, it's like, call up the governor. I'm not sure why he feels, one, if it's true that it's coming out of our COVID relief, why it's necessary to give money to students. I don't, everyone's hurting right now. I'm not too sure about that. And I would love to know Speaker of the House Harshman's reasoning of $6,000 per student. There was nothing in those articles that said, Wyoming-based residents. Obviously, if you're a community college, you're probably a Wyoming resident, but I'm just kind of baffled at the reasoning of this.
Right.
The 3,000 is not going to cover any tuition.
Right.
So I don't know. This is just mind blowing to me. When you sent it to me Tuesday, I was like, you got to be kidding me. 60 million.
Yeah.
Right.
And
especially this again, I was kind of like, maybe I should enroll and see if I get it. What's the stipulation of me saying I'm a student? I guess I'd be an adult, so I'd have to be a new training, but just mind blowing to me. And in our interview with Senator Biteman, he was kind of talking about, we've been sitting on this $1 billion. Obviously not. The governor has just said, nope, I'm going to get rid of 60 million of it. To the students, when you've got Wyoming residents and business owners that are struggling, and so mind blowing to me. When I was reading it, I couldn't believe it. There was nothing from Harshman in there about why he thought that, and I think we need to reach out to him and ask him what his reasoning is of that. This is just what was interesting, Zach, in the research is too. So Harshman is part of the what's called the Tomorrow Task Force Committee, and we'll probably put this up on the website. But I looked up the why the formation of this committee was created, and it was to form the development and potential education scholarship grant programs. was the original mission of this committee, and all of a sudden this committee's the one kind of giving approval to the governor, hey, go spend $60 million.
Yeah.
So wild. And I can't tell, they said that there's a budget on this committee that's 16,000. I don't know if that means like that's the scholarship fund, which we've obviously surpassed that with 57 million, or if that's like the budget for them to meet. So I'm kind of confused on that. But yeah, we're gonna put that up on the website. But yeah, this, I mean, it's those were my thoughts. And hey, don't get me wrong, like I went to UW. We've got great scholarship and grant programs in the state, but just handing out $3,000 to a kid that's enrolled, I mean, what? Okay, like great, good job, but we've got small businesses in Wyoming that are barely hanging on.
Yeah, they're facing down, closing their doors within months. Yeah.
So
and comes from another, I mean, right on the heels of this kind of, it's kind of controversial, the Occidental land purchase. I mean, obviously the states announced that there's a huge deficit, and then a couple weeks later we're announced that the governor's office is trying to buy this land that just went for $1 billion, you know, more than the money we got for COVID relief.
Yep.
And then now he's giving more money to students. Again, UW has some good programs, and I'm not trying to discourage people from enrolling or going to school there, but yeah, it's questionable.
Well, and what's questionable too is like a couple of years ago, like love their football program. I love Coach Bull. I love what they've done. But the state also gave them additional money a couple of years ago for that big old facility. And now, you know, the Mountain West, and, you know, I'd be curious to know if the presidents of the university didn't want them to play. And it's like, okay, so wait, we gave you money for that. You're not going to play now. You're going to lose this money, and then now we're giving you money. So it's like, what? There's just no accountability, it seems like, about what are we, like you said, about like what are our priorities right now? So fascinating, you know. This comes off. We're just coming out of the interview with Biteman, Senator Biteman, and he's, you know, we didn't talk to him about this, but he brought up all the spending issues we have. And you know, if you live in Wyoming and if you don't see it, I don't know what else to tell you. It's like it's pretty obvious that we're just spending way too much money that we're bringing in. I mean, So yeah, it's I think hopefully we haven't burned any bridges, but I'd love to sit down with Speaker of the House Harshman, get his reasoning why. Would love to know where the money's coming from. Is it coming from that COVID relief fund that we got?
Yeah.
Love to get the governor on, at least like a timeline, like you said. What's your timeline here? You know, we got out. Was this going to be at the same time? We were going to drop 60 million for the university. We were going to drop $1 billion on this. Like, what's your timeline here during COVID? While not counting any government jobs. So,
some interesting developments.
For sure. No, it's wild. And I will say this about the governor. I've thought he's done a decent job with COVID and his response. I will say this is probably one of his biggest questionable things he's done so far. So we'll leave it at that. And this is a good topic, Zach. We'll kind of change gears here.
Some local news.
Yeah, some city of Sheridan stuff. It's interesting and good. You know, the council members passed kind of changing the statutes a little bit about alcohol. It's legal now for businesses to deliver alcohol. And then they kind of just did it as a ex facto, you know, businesses were already doing it somewhat curbside. And so So that got passed in the city of Sheridan. The city attorney was like, how the state statute reads, we are allowed to do, the cities can do this. So, which I think is pretty awesome. That's how it should be.
Yep.
What's fascinating on that was the voting. It was very close, 4-3. The yeses were Henderson, Linden, Martin, and Bridger. The no's were Schaefer, Mayor Miller, and Beaver. And then we're going to get to the next vote, which was on an amendment, kind of changing the language about stores, grocery stores, can now get a permit for a liquor license. And they are allowed now, the amendment now allows them that they can have a door, in between them, so you can, like Walmart, if they ever put one in there, they can have, it can be in there.
Even another example is where Albertsons and Sheridan Liquor are right now.
Yep.
They can put a doorway in there, and it's legal now. You can go right between instead of going out and around and in.
Yep. Yeah. And I would say that common sense probably on the north end of town was probably maybe the reason of we need to reconsider this.
Yep.
Again, the voting here, the only two no's, interestingly, was Mayor Miller and then Schaefer. I would like to get Mayor Miller on and kind of ask his reasoning. You would think that the yeses would be good for businesses, is my original take. So.
Yeah, I think so too. And the Sheridan Press had a good article on it. Again, City Attorney Brendan Kearns talked about the redefining this act of delivery. Let's see here. The purpose is to attempt to meet the statutory requirement of alcohol being served on the premises, and then the delivery is the act of providing the alcohol to a purchaser. And so that's, it just kind of changes the definition of delivery. And what it looked like, there were a few kind of people who were opposed to this that weren't voting. But their argument was they were not in favor of changing this definition just because of the language and the uncertainty of how well it would be upheld if it was challenged in court. So that's what I found, but there wasn't a comment from Mayor Miller or Councilman Schaefer.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if that was their reasoning as well.
And they interviewed the police chief. I think it's still Adrian's.
Yeah.
And he said he wasn't a yes or no, just from his standpoint of how do we make sure there's no underage, purchasing, especially on a delivery, which I'm like, yeah, totally. I would imagine with technology now, and I think, whoever's delivering it, it's, you check the ID, if you want to argue, well, you'd get a 21-year-old to buy it for you. It's like, well,
yeah,
they would still go to a liquor store and buy it and then give it to them.
Right. That's already happening now.
Yeah. So, because I was walking through that in my head, I was like, I could see where, would that make it easier for them to get it? But I'm like, if you're checking IDs like you normally would,
the sale, I guess, is legal.
Yep,
What happens after the sale is the purchaser's own problem. So,
now I guess, that business needs to be careful. I'm not a lawyer, but it's like, well, if they showed up to a house and yes, the purchaser is 21, but like, you obviously see a group of people in there. I don't know what the legal, I don't know at that point, because now it's like.
Right. Well, yeah, because even if you go to the liquor store, and you're not 21, but the person you're with is 21,
yep.
I don't think they can sell you the alcohol because there's the assumption they're buying it for the underage person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's ways around that. Like the person could just walk outside,
Right. Wait in the car. Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens here.
you know, it'll be interesting. I think the big thing for me was the curbside, you know, at least getting that, like, if they're ever challenged or anything, you know, that's good to go. We can now do curbside.
Yeah.
You know, delivery, I would imagine we're probably not going to be the only municipalities in the states that have probably considered this due to, you know, the restaurants have to do something, you know, and the liquor stores have to do something. So,
yeah. Yeah. I know Montana's currently considering something like that too. Or at least Bozeman is.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, my big question to Mayor Miller would be, you know, not to put him in a position, but it's like these would help small businesses would be my assumption.
Yeah.
So, but like you said, maybe it was the legal language of it. Is that the concern?
Yeah.
So, well, Zach, we covered a lot.
Yeah, a lot of news today. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think to kind of finish out, kind of a recap, Kanye West, Nikki Sixx being, you know, in the news, celebrity news. Sports are happening. You know, the Wyoming High School Athletic Association, we're full bore. We're going. And lastly, our big headline on this one's going to be that $57 million that the governor gave for grant funding for the university.
Yeah. Yep.
But Zach, thanks for joining in again.
Yeah, of course.
Everybody, thanks for listening in, and we'll catch you all next time.
All righty.